Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity. Wow, I feel like I've already had some church here this morning. I'm Reverend Marla Mason. I am blessed and grateful to welcome you into the vibration, the love, the grace that is Unity of Bellevue. This month, we are digging deep with the idea of we'll be home for Christmas. What is it like to nurture and foster that spirit of magic, the spirit of grace in the midst of a pandemic and all of the other challenging and difficult, seemingly challenging and seemingly difficult things that are happening in the world? How do we cultivate a consciousness of love and the presence of grace in our daily lives? So that's what we're doing this month. We are doing that in Spiritual Community online, and yet I know that although it may appear that we are separate, it may appear that we are scattered all over the Puget Sound region and indeed even all over the world, there is only one life, and that life is infinite, and it is the glue that holds us together, and that indeed there is no distance of space or time. We are having our beingness in the infinite oneness of being right now. So welcome. I want to let you know who is supporting you this morning. First, our prayer chaplains today are Jan Kalin and Susan Neidig. You can have some time in gracious prayer support with them when we are complete at 11:30. So be thinking about what would be your prayer request. What would you want to pray for today? And you can take that into the prayer circle with Jan and Susan when we complete our gathering at 11:30. Also today, Rita Schwarting is our board host. Thank you, Rita, for representing the business side of our community this morning. Monica McDowell-Elvig is providing our announcements this morning. She is our center administrator, and she is often our producer, but she is not being our producer today. Sabrina McFadden, who's also our youth and family director and volunteer coordinator, is also serving as our producer this morning. Thank you, Sabrina, for stepping in and taking care of business for us. I also want to welcome our beloved and dear friends, Becky Thatcher and Matt Corey, who have been such an essential part of this community for so many years. They are our guests, but they belong to us. So I welcome you, Becky and Matt, as our guest artists this morning. I know they have prepared some special music for us. Becky and Matt.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Marla. Wonderful to see everybody.
2, 3, 4. can it be?
And so we breathe in peace. And we breathe out knowing that we are instruments of peace, for there is only one life. The life of the infinite, that from which all things have sprung, to which all things return. And we are having our being in that life, in that peace. And so I declare peace this morning, and I declare peace all times, all places. And I know that we lean into spiritual community this morning, opening our hearts and minds to the music, to the message, to all that would cultivate a greater sense of peace in our lives, so that we may be a source of infinite peace throughout the world. And so I open this service with a grateful heart, giving thanks for those who have kept this divine appointment with peace. I give thanks for it, I surrender it, I let it be, and so it is. Amen. I'm going to read through our affirmation once. I invite you to just continue this receptive pose, this receptive attitude, as you take in and really hear and integrate these words. And then I'll invite you to declare it with me on the second time through. I am at home in the heart of God, at peace with my world and open to love. During this harmonious and peaceful season of renewal, I celebrate my connection with everyone and everything, and so it is. And so I invite you now to join me with conviction in these words of truth. I am at home in the heart of God, at peace with my world and open to love. During this harmonious and peaceful season of renewal, I celebrate my connection with everyone and everything, and so it is.
Deep in the darkest winter night, here with my candle burning, cozy and warm inside the light. Now that the year is turning, what does the future hold in store? Where has our journey brought us? How can we learn from what's gone before? What has experience taught us? We are the future. We can reach for the stars. We feel at home in our own backyard. We want to be who we are. Friendship will light the darkest stars. True love will hold the vision. Peace and goodwill on earth is ours. Let it be our decision. La, 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 heart of creation, lover of shadow and light.
darkest winter night, here with my candle burning, cozy and warm inside the light. Now that the year is turning, feel how the year is turning. La 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 la
Thank you, Becky and Matt. So grateful for you. And I'm grateful for the spiritual community that we share. In 15 hours and about 19 minutes, the sun stands still. 2:02 a.m. on December 21st. The sun stands still. It is winter solstice. It is the time that the sun doesn't actually stand still, but it appears to stand still. And the word solstice, sol means sun, right? And stus means stand still. It's an old Latin word. We call it the solstice. It happens twice a year that the sun appears to stand still. It appears to stand still because the earth is tilty, right? Think of this as the axis of the earth and it's tilted. And if this is the sun, as the earth goes around the sun, the northern hemisphere, it doesn't go backwards and forward. It goes around in a big circle, but I can't get my arms around in a circle. As the tilty earth moves around the sun, over here, the northern hemisphere where we live is far away. And when it is at its farthest point, it appears to stand still for a moment before it begins the return journey to spring solstice, summer solstice, when we are in the northern hemisphere, the nearest to the sun. And when Earth is at its limit, it appears that for a moment, a long moment, the sun stands still. It's the time, the day of the least sunlight, and it is the beginning of winter. I am looking forward to 2:02 a.m. December 21st, 15 hours and about 17 minutes from now. Because what it means is the light is returning, the sun is returning. It's been gradually getting darker, right? And now it's not going to get any darker. It's going to start to get lighter now. And I could be pretty excited about that. And yet, in the midst of the darkness, there is something for me to be doing. Because I don't know about you, it seems to me when we have, and there's probably some astronomical reason for this, it seems to get lighter really between June and August. Suddenly, like the days are really long and the dark is really short. But then seems like it takes so much longer for the days to get longer again after the winter solstice. And I think that is actually the physical thing that happens too, and that there is some astronomical reason for it. But I have to tell you, just mentally and emotionally, sometimes it's like, couldn't we move this along a little bit? Let's get into the light. Now, have you ever felt that way in your life when you're in a dark place in your life and you're like, can't we just move this along and step back into the light? Step back into the joy of life? Move out of the darkness? Because my sun seems to be standing still. It seems awfully dark in here. And some of us are in dark times right now, both in the physical, the natural environment, and some of us are in dark times in our hearts and in our minds, and some of us are not. But it's essential, I believe, for us to recognize that this being, B-E-I-N-G, B-E-I-N-G, being is cyclical. Just like the planet revolves around the sun once a year. It goes around the sun once a year. Life, beingness is cyclical, dark and light. In the same way that the tilty earth moves around the sun every year, in the same way that the sun rises and the sun sets, because the earth is spinning on this tilty little axis, in the same way that cells are born and die in my body, in the same way that my blood circulates through my body, in the same way that planets are all revolving around the sun and the galaxies are revolving in the universe, in the same way that the universe appears to be expanding, and there's a theory that at some point in its expansion it will begin to collapse once again. In the same way, being is cyclical. It seems to be the way the universe works. And what created the cosmos, that thing, what orders the cosmos, that thing that we call God, is what created this cyclical nature of life. So apparently these cycles are divinely ordained. Even the dark places in our hearts and in our minds are divinely ordained, because they're just a time that the sun is standing still, that it seems dark. But we're just in the darkest place in the cycle. When I cooperate with universal law, when I cooperate with the laws of life, that cycle will continue to move on. When I refuse to cooperate with the laws of life, with the cycles, I just create more darkness, right? Anybody ever refuse to cooperate with the laws of life, and we push back and we fight and we argue about it, and all we're doing is creating more and more darkness. But you know, what if I could just hang out in the human experience of doubt, of disconnection, of fear and worry? What if I could just hang out there, recognizing, you know, I'm in a little bit of a dark place. Or it could even be, I'm in a huge, big, dark place. And I am in the human experience of doubt and a sense of disconnection, and a tendency toward fear and toward worry. I am in the dark night of the soul, but let me tell you something, the dark night of the soul transforms us. Because what happens in darkness? What happens in darkness is the germination of the seed. There's no light under the ground there when the seed is like putting down its roots. But what happens in darkness is the germination of the seed. What happens in darkness is hibernation, the time of rest and renewal, the time of pulling in one's resources and moving into a period of hibernation in order to be ready for when the light comes. You see, the nature of the universe, the nature of the cosmos is cyclical. And when we are willing to exploit the dark places, we become more spiritually mature. We become wiser. We become more fully who and what we are, because we were being willing to be present to the laws of life, to the cyclical nature of the universe. We were willing to be still with the sun and know something. You know, that's an interesting little verse from one of the Psalms. I can't remember the number right now. Be still and know that I am God. You know, that Psalm, the context, the setting is war. The setting is war, and the voice says, be still and know that I am God. And it doesn't just say it to the good guys, it says it to the bad guys too. See, in the midst of the war, in the midst of the tyranny, in the midst of the anger, in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the battle, be still. Be still. Know that I am God, and we are created in the image and likeness of this infinite one. Can we be still and know for a moment, I am at one with the infinite? It may seem dark here. It may seem challenging here. It may seem like there's no way out. But guess what? The nature of the cosmos, the nature of beingness is cyclical. And if I am willing to recognize, you know what? The earth is tilty, right? Life is tilty sometimes. Sometimes my life feels pretty like, But you know what? Even in the tilt is perfection. Even in the tilt is a balance. And when life is tilty, if I can anchor in the notion that the light is always coming. You see, the solstice, the day of the solstice is a day of promise. The promise is something has happened. The sun stood still for a moment. Something has happened. Change is coming. Light is coming. And from this moment of apparent stillness, remember the sun doesn't actually really, cosmic, in our solar system, the sun it appears to be still. It's still like our solar system is revolving around something, but the sun is way more still than the earth. It just appears to stand still. It's an appearance. And in this moment of an apparent stillness is a shift, is a physical shift in how the cosmos is showing up. Can we be still long enough? Can we know the spiritual truth that we are at one with the infinite, that source of all creation, that source of this cyclical cosmos? Can we be still long enough to allow the light to begin to return? Now, here's the bad news. I was reading up on Solstice this week, preparing for this message. And one of the things, it's kind of like one of those things that you know, but you don't know that you know it until you like read it. The thing about the solstice is it's really, we talk about it as the coming of the light, but what it really is signifying is 3 more months of winter. What? Oh my God. Seriously? 3 more months? What? And yes, we're supported by the awareness and the knowing that yes, from here on out, each day gets a little bit longer, but it's really the beginning of the coldest season. And we must be faithful to the principles through the coldest season, because we got 3 more months to go of cold, of dark, and this year in particular, more than usual, of seeming isolation. We got 3 months to go. And so we must do the things of winter. I've been thinking a lot lately about my couple generations ago, 3-4 generations ago, my family homesteaded here in the Washington area, and my great-great-grandmother had 16 children. Yikes! Yikes! Now, not all of them. I think 12 of them lived to adulthood, but they were homesteading down in central Western Washington, and I think, you know what? What did she have to do to prepare for winter? They didn't have electricity, they didn't have plumbing, they didn't have central heating, they didn't have Safeway, they didn't have all of those things. You see, I'm sure that their summer and fall was all about preparing for the winter, putting food away, getting the wood prepared, caring for the animals so that they had a place to be during these cold, cold months. And now it's the cold, cold months, and we rest and we hibernate and we eat out of the pantry and we create. You know, my grandmother always had knitting going. She always had a winter knitting project, right? She became really creative. My great-great-grandmother, I have a quilt that she made that is stunning. And you can tell, it took her many years to make it. You can tell because she has embroidered on it dates and events in her life over years of her life. Do you see a time of rest, of hibernating, of germinating, of creating, of being present to what is? Yeah, it's cold and dark. That's right. And because I cooperate with the laws of life, because I cooperate with the cyclical nature of things, I find ways to revel in the dark place. I find ways to, yes, absolutely remember that the light is coming. Remember that we're not stuck here. The light, it's only the sun is only apparently standing still for a moment in time. I revel in the dark place. I am willing to be in the darkness. You know, sometimes I think in our teaching, we put emphasis sometimes on denying the dark. And I'm not saying that we revel in the dark as a way to stay stuck. We revel in the dark as a way to move through it with a sense of aliveness and positivity. And how is this time making me wiser? How is this time maturing me? How is this time evolving me emotionally and spiritually? How am I being grown? How is my seed germinating in this dark? And I don't forget that the light is coming, but I don't make that the goal. The goal is to be in the moment, is to be in the dark place in a way that leverages that, in a way that calls forth the light from within me as a natural following, because I did the work of the dark. I did the work of the dark. I was willing to be still and know that I am God. And so breathe with me and ask yourself, am I willing to be in the dark place? Not to grovel, not to whine, not to complain, not to feel sorry for myself, but to see what it has for me. To simply be still. To be like the sun at 2:02 a.m. on 12/21. To be present to the idea that a willingness to camp out in the darkness is built in to the universe. It's built into the cosmos, and it's built into us. We need those down times to regenerate, to regerminate, to nurture, to grow. And to remember in the dark place that this is the nature of things and that it is happening all the time. Somewhere, remember, the earth is tilty. When we are far away from the sun, the southern hemisphere is what? They are in the light. And when we in the northern hemisphere are close to the sun, they are in the dark. But do you know what? It's always light somewhere. The sunrise here is sunset somewhere else. And the sun, here's what I love about it. You know, we have time zones, so we forget that the sun is always rising and the sun is always setting. It doesn't happen at 4:30 p.m. 2 blocks from me, the sun is setting at a different time because it's in a different place in relationship to the star that we call sun. The sun is setting all the time. The sun is rising all the time, unfailingly, without my help. Without my help. I don't need to do anything to facilitate the sunrise. What I must be is present. You see, I can choose to notice the sunrise or not. And a few years ago now, I had the opportunity to go to Cambodia, and we went to Angkor Wat at dawn to watch the sunrise. And I have to tell you, I'm not much of a morning person, and I kind of wasn't interested. In order to get up to see the sunrise at Angkor Wat, you had to get up at 4 a.m. I'm like, Oh, you guys, no, go without me. I'll be fine. I'll see you at breakfast. But something in me pushed, no, go. You need to go. You want to watch the sunrise. And we got there and it was amazing. There were just people doing yoga and meditating. And it was just barely starting to get light, and we kind of found our spot and we sat down, and some of our group did their little yoga thing, and I just moved into this meditation and I watched the sunrise over Angkor Wat. And I honestly don't have words for the feeling of expansiveness and of presence that I felt within, in my heart and in my body, but in my soul. And here is what is key. I chose to be there. The sun is rising whether I'm paying attention or not. If I want to truly be aware of the coming of the light, I must choose to show up and notice it and be conscious and be present. I must be still and know something. And what is super duper cool about that whole experience is all I have to do is start talking about it, and I remember the feeling. I will carry that moment of watching the light be reborn wherever I go for the rest of my life, because I was willing to be present to it. And I had to get up in the darkness of 4 a.m. What? In a country with really big bugs and scary stuff. I had to be willing to be present to the experience, to be still and know something. Paying attention to the thing that is always happening unfailingly. With or without my help, the sun will rise. Am I willing to be present to it and conscious of it? With or without my help, the sun will stand still and the light will return. Am I willing to be conscious and present and camp out in the dark place with a sense of availability to what is happening and how my life can be enriched by it? Am I willing to give thanks, to be present, even for the cold and even for the dark and even for the 3 months of winter that is still coming? But it has something for me. If I am faithful to the principles that govern the universe, this dark place has something for me. And actually, I said that totally wrong. It has something for me, whether I'm willing to be present to it or not. The gift is there. Can I open up and accept it and see it and be present to it? Am I willing to get up at 4 a.m. to go to Angkor Wat and watch the sunrise and carry that experience with me for the rest of this physical life? And who knows, what the soul life and how that experience carries on in the energy of the cosmos. You see, when I am willing to be present to the dark place, it makes it more possible for others to feel safe to be present to the dark place, to recognize that dark night of the soul is transformational. And when I do that work for myself, I am doing it in part for every life I touch. And when you are doing that work for yourself, you are doing it in part for every life you touch. You are cooperating with the cyclical nature of being. And it is growing you and it is expanding you. Something is germinating in you because of your willingness to be in the dirt, be in the darkness. And so breathe with me as we move into some conscious spiritual practice with one another. I invite you to breathe and to follow your breath deep into the dark cavern, and that is your body. And recognize that even in the cyclical nature of the breath, breathing into the dark Your breath effortlessly cycles out again into the light. Breathing in and breathing out. Recognize that in this realm of seeming dark and light duality, there is only one life. There is only one thing happening. And I am willing and available to be present to the dark as well as to the light. And as you breathe, open your heart and your mind to the infinite wisdom that governs this cosmos, that has created the dark and the light. Open your heart and your mind as you ask this question: how am I? How am I called to be present in this dark, cold time of winter? How am I called to be in the dark time this year? How am I called to be still? How am I to know myself more fully as the divinity within? How am I called to rest in this dark time? How am I called to create in this dark time? And what am I called to be? And you allow the awareness, the infinite intelligence of spirit, the infinite intelligence that has created this cyclical universe in which we live and move and have our being. You allow this intelligence to inform you now. And you begin to see this time of darkness unfolding ahead of you. And you see yourself satisfied and fulfilled. Content to be present to what is. To learn, to grow, to deepen in spiritual consciousness. And now give thanks. Give thanks for the stillness, for the awareness, for the wisdom. Give thanks for this time of deepening and darkening. And give thanks for the light, for the illumination that is to come. And so it's in this consciousness of infinite good that I surrender and I release this time and close this message with a grateful, grateful heart. And so it is. Amen.
1, 2, 3, 4. Love came down at Christmas. Love, a loving, love divine.
you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Excuse me. This is a time in our service when we give of our love offerings and tithes, the gifts that we bring to support Unity of Bellevue. We give freely and openly because we know that the work that we're doing in the universe affects so many people, and we bring great joy to those we touch. Excuse me. On the screen, there's all the ways of giving of your love offerings and tithes. We really appreciate that. And in the consciousness of planting seeds of growth and prosperity and goodness and joy, join me in the offering affirmation, please. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
And so I give thanks for the gift. I give thanks for the giver. I give thanks that this beloved center is so bounteously and abundantly provided for. I know that we have our being collectively and as a spiritual resource in the beingness of the Infinite One, and that we are abundantly sourced. And so I consecrate these gifts to the good use of Unity of Bellevue, blessing this community and blessing the world through the gift of our own tithe. I am so very grateful, and so it is. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. I am Monica, your center reindeer, and I have a sleigh full of packages for you today. You're going to be picking those up at noon, from noon to 2. I also will be delivering packages over the next couple of days, and you're going to recognize me because even my soul has antlers. So if you're not stopping by today to pick up those toolkits for Christmas Eve service and for the January 3rd service, look for those to arrive. I've also reined in some other reindeer to help deliver those packages over the next couple of days. So lots of surprises, lots of goodies for you in there, and lots of fun. If you are visiting with us for the first time, we welcome you. We want to walk with you as we revel in the darkness, as we wait for the return of the light. And we ask you to stay connected to us. The best way during this time when everything is online is to go to our website, unityofbellevue.org. And at the bottom of every page is a sign-up form for our weekly e-newsletter that comes out every Thursday morning and keeps you up to date on everything that's happening at our center online. I have some other announcements. We have Wednesday Community Connect online this Wednesday at 1 p.m. with Reverend Marla. She helps us stay focused on our spiritual principles and practices midweek, especially during this time of the pandemic. And just a note that this Wednesday, we are having Wednesday Community Connect. The next Wednesday, we are not. So we're taking a break. The office will also be closed between Christmas and New Year. We'll just be doing essential work only. So just take note of that. The cookbook. It's a great, our e-cookbook, our famous family favorites e-cookbook, Divine Dining Fundraiser. It's a great stocking stuffer, contactless. I'm using it. I know a few of you have been using it and sharing it. We just ask for a $10 donation. You can find all of that online or on the newsletter, the link to order that for a download. Lots of yummy recipes to try out over the holidays. We also have the online bookstore with some holiday tables. It's not too late to order some last minute gifts that will support our center and support our vendors. Just order curbside pickup. Well, shipping might be a little too late for that, but curbside pickup is always available. Just a note, we did our sacred service with Kindering this year, helping families in transition with children. We were able to gift them 22 gift cards, $25 gift cards to Target with a few gifts. They were thrilled, and they just want me to express their gratitude because it will really make a difference for them this year. Our prayer chaplains today are Susan Neidig and Jan Kalin. They will be staying on after service for a virtual prayer circle. If you have any prayer requests, we invite you to stay on after service. We have a 3-minute break in between the end of the celebration service, and then when the virtual prayer circle starts, we go offline on Facebook, so it's confidential, and we invite you to stay after. They are happy to pray with you. You can also email them prayer requests at prayerchaplains@unityofbellevue.org, or put your prayer request into the prayer form on our website on the prayer page. I believe that is everything. Reverend Marla, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, Monica. Yeah, thank you, Monica. So grateful for you, and just for the sense of festivity that you bring to our center around the holidays, every holiday. So grateful for you. A couple things I want to say as we prepare to close. I want to give you a little sneak peek at 2021. We're going to start having materials come out soon. You will see that our theme for 2021 for the entire year is timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision. The idea is we're going to look at the timeless wisdom on which our teachings are founded, in which our teachings are anchored. What is the timeless wisdom of the spiritual teachers who have brought us to this point in time? What is the wisdom that has grown this movement of new thought, this new thought movement, to the place that we are? And what is the vision that is pulling us forward? How do we evolve into our next great beingness as humanity? So we'll be looking all year long at what is the timeless wisdom. Each month we'll be looking at different teachers, and what is the evolutionary vision. Each month we'll be looking at what is calling us forward. For January, I want to let you know that there is a book of the year. I know you are used to having books of the month, but for 2021, we have also, in addition to books of the month, we have a book of the year. The book is called The Book of Soul, 52 Paths to Living What Matters. And this book is brilliant. It is 52 weeks of spiritual practice that you are invited to join me in doing together. Each week has just 2 or 3 pages of content. There's a little bit of content. And then there's, at the end of each week, there's, some suggested, they're called questions to walk with. So questions and reflections for you to carry through that week. We are going to be providing opportunities for you to get support for engaging in that annualized spiritual practice by attending our Wednesday Community Connect. We're going to be repurposing the Community Connect to support this practice. So please join us on Wednesdays all year long, 52 weeks. We will be there to support you in deepening and growing and walking through life consciously and with an awareness of who you are and what you belong to. This is our annualized tool for doing that. So Monica has ordered those books. I don't think they're quite in yet, but they will be in. It's one of the ways you can support our bookstore is by purchasing your Book of Soul through the bookstore. So please get a hold of that. As soon as they're in, Monica will be letting you know. For January, we do have a book of the month. It's called How to Lead When You Don't Know Where You're Going. And you guys, your board of trustees has been working with this book for, probably, I don't know, 6, 8, 9 months now. And I really want to share it with the community. You don't have to be a leader. I mean, the fact is we're all leaders, you guys, right? We're all leaders. You don't have to be in a formal leadership role to get benefit from this book. The subtitle is Leading in a Liminal Season. We are in a liminal season collectively right now. The world is in a liminal season where we have left something behind and we are moving into something new, and we don't know what the something new is yet. And the pandemic and political situation, like all of these things, are contributing to us not really having a good sense of where we're going. And that can be a difficult place to revel in. It can feel like a dark place. This book will help you know how to move forward, and we'll be exploring this book together in January. And as I said, the Book of Soul all year long. So that's your little sneak peek into 2021. As we prepare to close today, I just invite you to bring to mind one thing you are grateful for that has happened for you in the last hour. Might have been something in the music, in the message, a connection you made with someone online here, something that is happening for you that you are feeling grateful for. And as we close, I invite you to join me in the prayer for protection, declaring these words with conviction. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you on Christmas Eve, 7 p.m. this Thursday. I'm so grateful for you. Merry Christmas.
We bring to lay before the King. So we honor him when we come. Baby Jesus, little baby Jesus. I am a poor boy too. This poor boy has have no gifts to bring. No worldly wealth at all to lay before the King. Shall I play for you? Me and my drum. Mary nodded, the ox and lamb kept time. I played my drum for him. I played my best. I played my best for him. Then he smiled at me. He smiled at me, honored me. The baby Jesus smiled for me and my